Morning. Call the meeting of the fiscal court to order. Good to see everybody this morning. First up, Bob Gifford.
Yes, Judge, I have a draw request to the Delta Regional Authority. This is work that has been performed at the sanitation district number 1. One of the invoices is for pumps that have been replaced in the lift stations in the amount of $12,164.58. And the other is to Paul Cloud Engineering for field crew work in the amount of $6,825, and the grand total is $18,989.58. And this is all work done on the rehab of sanitation district number 1.
And this is from a grant that we received from
Yes,
Delta Regional Authority.
Delta Regional,
And what was the total amount of that grant? Do you recall?
$300,000.
$300,000. Okay.
This is draw number 2, Judge.
All right, this is drawdown number 2, Delta Regional Authority. Do I have a motion? Have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
And I would just like to say how much I appreciate their board. We're having trouble with staying in budget on the rehab of the plant itself. They have decided that they would supply their personnel and themselves as part of the rehab cost. I'm seeking permission from Rural Development to bid individual contractors to help them so that they can stay in budget and complete this. That's,
Board members themselves have
Yes.
been doing a lot of the work.
yes, they have.
Les Landers and Mike and others. Of course, they've been doing this for some time to keep that district operational.
Yes, they have.
All right, anything else?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Mike Edwards.
Morning.
Morning.
Appreciate y'all having me. I've got a small request that wish y'all would consider. Some of you know, some of you don't. Vernon Rudolph, who was born and raised in Marsh County, he's a founder of Krispy Kreme Donuts. And next year he would be 100 years old. And I think it'd be pretty neat. It's a neat story. It'd be pretty neat if we had a sign to put up. He's from Heights, which most of you don't know where Heights is, but it's out by Marquita's, out by the Boy Scout camp, off of Oasis Road is where he was born and raised.
Right near the thriving metropolis of Fair Dealing, Kentucky.
Yeah, pretty much. And I made up a couple of signs you can look at. I put Heights on one of them just for see what it looked like. But he still has cousins in the area, and some of them that work for him. And
Donald's
Donald,
still up there.
yeah.
Daddy worked for him. Daddy went to,
yeah.
Daddy and Mama moved to Charleston, wasn't it, where they started, Charleston,
I don't
West
know.
Virginia?
My dad went to Detroit and worked for him.
I think Daddy and then Mama went to
It's-
Charleston, West Virginia. and worked
It's really a neat story if people's not familiar with it, but I just think, Paul Dotson tried to,
He wrote in his book.
he wanted for him to be recognized, and Gene Henson at Marquita's has been wanting it, and it just kind of been on my mind for the last few months, and some friends of ours that we went to school with owns a property where he was born and raised. It's just kind of off of that Oasis Road, but I'd like to have it on 68 where,
Yeah.
if
People
we can
can
get
see
state
it.
permission, where everybody see it. I asked the property owner up there, and he said, put it right here. And I said, well, people be driving up and all that, but, it's pretty neat. He done good. He opened his, I thought was a unique story. He opened his first store in North Carolina when he was 22 years old in 1937. And that's pretty good, But just wish y'all consider it, and
Well, I think it's a great idea, and we have the capability to fix the signs.
I don't know if we can make that Krispy Kreme sign or not, but we'll try.
I mean, we can do it,
Well-
just maybe not in the colors.
It would just stand out, you know, it would just stand out so much better. I put another one, just put that on it, and it, you know,
Who would we, he said we might need to get permission
done
from.
call them. I've been in contact with them, and,
Have you?
yeah, it says okay.
All right.
Yeah,
And Mike, if we
son's
put it
still
on the
working.
right of way, 641, 68,
68, yeah.
where it could be seen, I guess I'd need to get permission from the district highway office, but I don't think that'd be a problem, surely. I mean, they've allowed us to put other signs on their right of way.
probably be, I think it'd be pretty neat to put his he was born in 1915, died in 73.
73,
And, you know, just something if y'all consider, I'd appreciate it.
all right? You've heard the request. What's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion that we try to develop a sign and see if we can get it approved to be placed up there in and around Marquitas on the 68 highway.
All right, you've heard the motion for a sign to commemorate the birthplace of Vernon Rudolph, the founder of Krispy Kreme Donuts. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Russ, we'll get together and see what kind of sign we come up with.
Dates on that?
Yeah, the dates of his birth and death, yes. All right, Jeff, if you'll remind me, I'll call Mike McGregor, District Highway Engineer, to get his, or their permission. I don't know what we go through. We put signs on 641 before, and there hasn't been any objections, so I'm assuming they'll be all right, but I guess we better make sure.
Yeah, we've got several on Olive Road,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
out there by the high school.
And they've never,
Yeah,
but I think I normally let them know.
yes, I think we asked them.
Okay. Anybody else to address the court this morning? All right, let's move into correspondence from MediaCom. Dear Judge Executive, this letter serves as notification to you that MediaCom will be adjusting its non-sufficient fund charge occurring on or about August 1st, 2014 in your community. The change will be as follows. The current fee is $25 per return payment. The new fee will be $29 per return payment. MediaCom appreciates the opportunity to continue to serve your community's telecommunications needs. This is from Kate Hoddle, the Government Relations Manager for MediaCom. From the Paducah Area Transit Authority, they sent letters to Marshall, Ballard, McCracken, and the city of Paducah. This is in regard to Human Services Transport Delivery. That effective July 1, 2014, Region 1 Human Services Transportation Delivery will be brokered by the Audubon Area Community Service, Inc., and Grits Transportation. As Paducah Transit Authority is a subcontractor, we can only provide Medicaid transportation that is pre-approved and supplied to us from the broker. This change may result in some clients' eligibility to receive transportation through this service no longer being approved. If your constituents have any questions concerning eligibility, they should contact the broker or the Kentucky Office of Transportation Delivery. This is from Arthur Boykin, the Executive Director. I don't know how many of our people use this service. I've seen the Pat's Transportation in our county several times, but whether just going through or actually picking up somebody, I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll keep that in mind. We'll keep that number on file if someone needs to check with us about it. Let's move into old business. You've all received copies of the June 18 and the special call meeting of June 30. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes of the meeting?
I have none.
Judge, the only one I have from yesterday, we just had some kind of general discussion, but I know that the minutes of anything concerning the racetrack are of importance to a lot of the citizens. If we could just add in here, it talked about where we addressed, obviously you had addressed their going over the time limit. I just thought maybe we should add in here that we also commended them for being under their time on most every occasion but one, just to reflect that both of those things were stated to them.
There's no objection, we'll add that, Misty, I think you're right, but that they have been under their time limit.
Significantly,
Just about most
but they
of the
did go
time.
over and you addressed that, so.
Yeah. All right, with that correction, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, Judge.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Yesterday, we talked briefly about a request for variance on operating hours for Kentucky Motor Speedway. I'll just read the correspondence that I have from their communications director. And did y'all all get a copy of that?
I don't think so.
I'll provide you, I'll just read it real quick. Management requests fiscal court to consider a request to permit us to use the Speedway for private test sessions as requested by competitors. We presently have a request for Monday, June 30th, that's passed, which gives the court 5 working days to consider that specific request. The session will be for not more than 2 cars, utilizing the track from 5 to approximately 8:30 p.m. Kentucky Lake Motor Speedway would provide emergency crews as required by our insurance carrier and would supervise the activity to ensure that safety considerations are met. We also request the court's consideration of some sort of open-ended permission that would allow us to respond to requests, almost all of which are going to be spur of the moment rather than longer term as the scheduling of a racing event would require. This would give us the chance to realize some revenue from rental of the facility. We would be happy to discuss the limitations, such as the number of times in a given period that we would be allowed to schedule such sessions, the number of cars that would be allowed to participate, and so forth. This would give us flexibility to responding requests without requiring action of the fiscal court every time we receive such a request. We also request guidance from the court regarding what is necessary in order for us to rent our facility to other types of events, including but not limited to other forms of motorsport. We have received from go-kart racers and a circus and have been investigating the possible musical concerts and other activities. Please advise if there is consideration that we need to provide in regard to such opportunities. We hope that our record of compliance with the restrictions imposed by our entertainment permit has instilled some confidence in the members of the fiscal court that it is our intention to cooperate fully with those restrictions, and as we pledged to do during the application process. Thank you for your consideration of this request and for the support you have provided us in this venue. As we talked yesterday, it was, I believe, Jeff, your opinion that they would have to amend their entertainment permit, which would require another public hearing.
Yes,
Is that right?
that's what That would be my opinion.
Now, from what the gentleman told us yesterday, there were some companies that wanted to test tires, shocks. Wouldn't be more than 2 vehicles at a time on the track. So this is something for your consideration. I'll give you a copy of this, but in view of what Jeff has said, when would you like to schedule the public hearing for this request?
Do they have we need but is this the request, or are they creating a request
Well, is this
through their
come in since
attorney?
yesterday?
No, this
no.
is the one that we got previously.
Well, I have forwarded my opinion to their counsel, and I would assume they will file an amended petition.
So we'll just wait on them to
Yes.
file.
Right, because basically, that's what we responded to yesterday, that right there.
Okay. Well, we'll wait to hear from Mike Foster. He is their attorney. We have an amendment to our ordinance 2013-08. This is from the Marshall County Tourist Commission. This is the amendment. Now therefore be it resolved and ordered by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County, Kentucky as follows. The ordinance 2013-08 passed by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County on the 17th day of September 2013 is hereby amended as follows. The name of the Marshall County Tourist Commission is hereby renamed and shall be known as the Kentucky Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. This is the first reading of this amendment. We'll have to publish it and have the final reading. What's your pleasure on the first reading?
Make a motion, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll have the second reading at the next regular meeting of the court. Get all them to sign that, please. What is this? We have an issue, Jeff, I guess, we may need to take this to the health board, but there's some cleanup that remains to be done out at the health department building. Do we address that at that time with the health board?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be an issue for the health department, health board.
Okay. We'll take that up and keep the court informed. It's just some minor stuff, but there's also some shrubbery and all that's gonna be planted. The city of Benton said they would take care of that. But they did ask to use our person from the park to assist them in what sort of things to buy and that sort of thing. So we'll take that up. Next is a bid opening. Or we have put in the paper a bid opening and take bids for developing our website for July 15th, which will be the next meeting of the fiscal court. I don't know who or how many we'll get, but Andy, do you expect we'll get several?
You know, you never know.
Yeah.
We've had a couple people already express interest.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be taking that up on the 15th of July. We have the bid opening this morning for a truck for the Marshall County Emergency Management Office.
Did not get a bid.
we received no bids. This was advertised in our paper of record. That all bids must be submitted by 9 o'clock, July the 1st. Frank, did you get any inquiries, or? Well, we've got two options. We can rebid, or we can allow Frank to seek the best thing, since we got no bids. What do you do, Jeff? Yeah, you did that. The state contract price is, do you remember what it was? I don't even remember.
The total equipment, I do have it right here, Joe.
That may have been the reason for no bids, and nobody could beat that.
I'm sorry.
That may have been the reason for no bids, that nobody could beat the state contract price.
Of course, I hadn't publicly announced what the
Yeah,
state
but
contract was.
May still know what it is.
Oh, yeah, they know what it is. So, yeah, you can go with that one at the state contract price if you choose.
This court, do you wish to hear the price, Judge?
Well, I'll leave it up to the court if we want to use the state bid contract, since we got no bids. Would we allow Frank to just go with state contract?
And that's a process, unless you just want to call and verbally speak to any of the local dealerships and just say, hey, I just want to make sure that you had an opportunity to look at this, and that would be up to you, though, because we've legally met our requirements, so.
And you can certainly announce what is, I'd like to know what the state contract price is. I never have looked it up, but
Total with equipment, additional equipment and everything for a 3/4 ton four-wheel drive crew cab truck. Include the topper to cover the cargo and material that I would require them to have with me, and the agenda spills or responses, towing package and all, to transport our mobile command post to. All equipment total $30,938.
that's why they couldn't beat it, probably.
Yeah. No.
Okay,
Do I hear a motion to allow Frank to use the state bid contract price?
Make a motion.
for the
second.
vehicle? We have a motion and a second. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. We have a bid opening for the next round of nuisance properties. One of those has been taken care of by family. We got pictures and all that. That's the one that just looked like junk, Kevin, around we talked about. That's been cleaned up, mowed. These two properties, or one, I guess it's just one property today, two properties.
Actually, the family has started working on that one also.
So if the family started working on it, do we give them more time?
That'd be up to you all. If they're working on it, you can allow them to do that.
Well, I've got pictures of,
I mean, I think if they're
If
working
they're
on
making
it.
an effort to clean it up, I'd give them some more time.
that was on 440 Tubbs Road. The other property was 104 Frontage Lane. Is that the property there?
Yes,
All right.
and there's a copy on the back of it, one of the pictures, and on the back of that first page.
This is a bid for the property on 104 Frontage Lane. Bid is from R&M Trucking and Excavating Company of Almo. Ronnie Blakeney is the owner. For the demolition of the garage, 3 outbuildings, clean up debris and brush and haul away, $2,500. That is the only bid that we received. $2,500. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to accept the bid, Judge.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Judge, can I ask this question on the one where that they're starting to do the cleanup? Because I'll get calls on it if they stop the cleanup. What's the process at that point, Jeff? Do I come back and notify the court?
Just notify the court.
Just know us and then we'll,
Okay,
Right.
because I will get calls on it if, if they obviously started and
quit.
several weeks go by and they don't do anything else. So what's a reasonable amount of time in your opinion?
Whatever they say reasonable in.
Can y'all give me an idea what a reasonable amount of time is?
Well, I think 30 days is reasonable,
Okay.
more than reasonable. Well, I'll leave that up to y'all think.
30 days, plenty. If they hadn't made any effort in 30 days, I'd get after them.
Okay. So, more or less use today's date as the
As
clock
the
starts
startup.
ticking today?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are continuing to make progress on some of the properties down in the Gilbertsville area. Got some after pictures on some of these. I don't know if you've seen that, Misty, or not. But we still get complaints from time to time on abandoned properties, properties that are unkept. And we're trying to make an effort to clean up a lot of these areas. So if anyone has a problem, they need to make their complaint in writing, signed. We're not gonna act on an anonymous tip. We gotta have some signed complaints before we can move on.
Jeff, is that true? Why do we have to have a signed complaint to clean up property? We have an ugly site right by our park. It's been there for years. When I was sheriff, I cited them to court twice. It looks like a dump.
Yeah.
Why do we have to have a complaint signed? We know it. The sheriff doesn't have to have a complaint signed to arrest a DUI or pick up
Well,
someone
you
for
don't- I mean,
burglary.
The court could start the action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a complaint signed. We have a complaint. Well, we look at it and see it.
Right. I
We
mean,
enacted the law.
Yeah. I mean, anybody, I mean.
People are not gonna sign a complaint. They don't wanna be involved in it.
Right.
That's why they elected us, for us to see to
And you
it.
can do that.
And we should.
Yeah.
That's why it's not getting cleaned up. That's why it's been going on for 20 years and we're still bickering over it. And it's never gonna get cleaned up as long as we wait for someone else to come sign a complaint, because they're just not going to do it. Very few people ever will. That's why they have all of us.
We've
But that's
had
why they
pretty
have
good
all of us.
success. I mean,
That's why we have a sheriff and all of us. And that's our job. And when we see those places like out by our park, it's been there for years, then we should take some kind of action. Why do we have to sit and wait for someone else, some citizen to come sign their name and be harassed in the community for it, then when that's our job?
Well, you don't
We need to
have
accept our responsibility. It's our responsibility.
You can do that.
Well, let's do it. I say we clean the one up next to the park first. I cited him in court 10 years ago, twice.
nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
I don't remember which one it was, but I signed one of them
Right.
last year because the residents, they didn't want to.
I've
And
done
that's
one.
Yeah,
I did one
I understand.
A couple of
mean, it
years
is-
ago when this first started.
Yep, they certainly don't want to. It's not comfortable, and sometimes it pits neighbor against neighbor.
Right,
so-
the neighbors were uncomfortable doing it, and so I ended up signing it.
I mean, if we're serious about doing it, then that's what we need to do. And if we're not, we need to just tell them we're not gonna do it. Just forget it. because you're gonna clean up one every once in a while, and people are gonna stay irritated and mad at us and mad at everyone in the community that has those places and are not gonna get cleaned up. Because we've been fighting this for years. I fought it when I was police chief and the sheriff. We had jury trials over it, and I cited people to court, and most of the ones that cleaned up because we asked them to, and the ones that we cited to court, some of those are cleaned up, and the ones that just absolutely said no, they're still like they were, because no one made them. And if we're gonna do that, we just really quit, or get off our stick and do it. But that one by the park just irritates me every time I go by there. It's terrible.
Now that those are cleaned up, Jeff, what is the next process, the next step in the process, rather, of filing a lien to try to recover some?
Once we have all the total costs, you'll turn it over to us or file it with the court.
Okay.
For the file, and then we get a copy and we will prepare the lien.
Are you getting that information?
Deb?
Since we're on this subject, just to give you all a heads up, the property that's out on Gibbertsville Highway, it's already been cleaned up, took down and all that. We received a call this weekend, and of course I wasn't here. Of course, one of my deputies wanted to talk to him. Evidently was unaware that process was going on, and he come to mow the property and showed up and nothing's there now. Well, I've got documentation where all the notification was sent, and we did this same thing back in 2012, because I've got the same property, and
Did it
spoke
in
with,
07 as well.
and spoke with an individual, because I've got my notes here, saying they were gonna sell the property and tear the house down themselves. So at that point, we took no action because that's what we were told. Well, now he's wanting to complain about losing all of his father's tools and stuff that was in the building out there. And I was called at home about this, and I told him to instruct the gentleman to come to fiscal court and talk to you guys about it, because all the proper notification stuff's been sent out. And obviously he didn't show up today, so I don't know where that's gonna go, but just to give y'all
Well, there was
notification.
a lady, and I
he
don't know
was
if this is I guess this is the same property.
It is.
Talked to Melanie yesterday, and then I think talked to you, Jeff, is that correct?
And Troy had walked in, and after staying on the phone with her, he talked to her.
Okay. Well, they have had plenty of notification, and I think you can verify that, can you not, Jeff? And
That's what I advised yesterday.
okay, well, like I said, I just wanted y'all to be aware of it, because they called my office over the weekend about it.
Okay.
I also said if they had they wanted to file a formal complaint they could file it with the court, and I would take it up with you. Troy even checked on with the contractor about what was in the building, and there was some scrap stuff and a set of sockets, and he said that was available. Legally, I don't think they're required to give them back, but he said they could have those set of sockets back. That was what was in the building.
Sheriff, also from my understanding with her conversation with Troy, the father had passed away that was the original homeowner, and she had changed the mailing address from with the PVA office where the tax bills were supposed to go, and did away with the P.O. box that was on the citation, because I read her everything we had.
Well, I can
And
only
she
go
was-
off of what we have
Exactly.
at our office, and that's what I go off with, is the tax roll.
Exactly.
And if it changes from last year to this year, I won't know that notification. That's all what I go off of.
Exactly. So,
You go over the last address you had, I mean,
Exactly.
Should we modify our ordinance to include some sort of a hanging notice on the residents when we intend to begin a cleanup process, kind of like when they are gonna condemn a property, so it's just an added
could.
measure of, I mean, if it takes 2 weeks or whatever, then it's just a posted
Posted.
notice?
Yep.
That might, if people are saying that they're going and mowing, I'm just saying in this particular case, if there was a posted notice, then that might. And I don't know that,
Well, it hadn't been mowed in a while.
Yeah.
I understand. And most of these haven't been
But
touched
yeah,
in a long time.
we can add that requirement, posted.
I just thought maybe a neighbor or something who might have a contact, maybe more motivated to let them know what's going on. Exactly.
All right, next we have a bid opening on the Old Calvert City Road Bridge. I think we have 2 bids. First bid is from Jim Smith Contracting. Total bid, $180,708. $187.08. Jim Smith Contracting. Next bid is from American Timber Bridge. Their bid, total bid, $169,000. $169,000. Russell, would you and Jason make sure that all of our specifications are met here before we make a,
Do they not list the option for us? The bid that they first gave me, whenever we went out and looked at it, had one where they do everything, and then a second one where they had the county purchase the materials, and then they do the work, which was significantly cheaper, which is why I asked for us to bid this out in the first place. Did they not list that option in there?
I was just looking at the
Okay,
final bid.
that is the reason why I asked for this in the first place, because it appeared that a concrete bridge was going to be cheaper, so I'm curious to see if that's in there. If it's not, then obviously timber is the cheaper way to go.
I don't know, we'll let them look through all that. It's the Old Calvert Road. If you go on a Sharp School Road, turn at Sharp School, like you're going to Calvert City, or back to 62, and it's,
Turn like maybe a mile off of
the
there.
road is on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're going from Sharp School and you get almost to 62, the road is on your left. Coming from Calvert, it would be on your right. I guess.
Well, it's not even a mile up. You can see it almost from the time you turn on
Yeah.
Old Calvert City Road. Yeah. It's posted at what, 14 ton?
Yeah, it's the only one we had posted low, and we had, because somebody had told Misty, I think, about just a curb deck and rail.
Yeah, they
And
said
we
that they thought
wanted-
they could save the
We wanted
abutments.
to check that, and I had the highway department, district engineers go out and look, and they got under, took pictures and everything. Said, no, we'll only accept a totally new bridge there.
There's a utility pole that that they were talking about moving, but that was only utility.
Well, you have the contractor, that's their responsibility to make sure they're not cutting any water lines or sewer lines. Now, there's power lines there, and both bidders are aware
Yes.
that they're gonna have to use blankets over those.
You're talking about blue water streams, yeah.
No, no. Thank you for bringing that up though, Lloyd. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Lloyd. All right, next we have bid openings on surplus property. Is this it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, we had several items that we declared surplus. 80 by 18 metal culvert, 6 by 36 metal culvert, 6 by 30, another 6 by 630 culvert, 18 by 24 metal, 36 by 30 metal, 36 by 30 metal, then a steam Jenny washer, scrap metal bid to the pound, 1994 Ford pickup, and a 1999 Ford van, which is inoperable. We have several bids. You wanna take that and be the stenographer there? Randy Wood bids $1,011. I believe that's what it is. That is 1,011. For the 80 by 18 metal culvert, $436 for the Ford pickup, and $162 for the 1999 Ford. David Parker bids $310 for the 80 by 18 metal culvert, $277 for the Ford pickup, and $112 for the 1999 Ford van. And he also, scrap metal bid by the pound, he's got 2.5 pounds. I think that tells me anything there. See that?
2.5 per pound?
I don't know if that's 2.5 per pound or just 2.5, he just says 2.5 pounds.
That sound right?
I'm assuming that's two
2.5 cents.
$2.50,
$2.50 a pound?
I guess.
2.5 cents.
That's not what it said.
It would be,
2.5 pound.
it's $2.5
Okay.
Zeros
a
and some
pound.
periods in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
From Michael Conkright for the 80 by 18 metal culvert, 131.31. 6 by 36 metal culvert, $361.31. Culvert number 3, $361.31. Metal culvert number 4, $41.31. Culvert number 5, $51.31. Number 6, $51.31. Steam Jenny washer, $61.31. Scrap metal, $2.13 a pound. Ford pickup, $431.31. And the Ford van, $261.31. Mike Conkright. From Benny Adair, 80 by 18 metal culvert, $517. The 6 by 36 metal culvert, $1,257 each. 18 by 24 metal culvert, $157. 36 by 30 metal culvert, $257. Number 6, $257. Scrap metal by the pound, 8.5 cents a pound. Ford pickup, $278. Ford van, $250. Benny Adair. from Tim York, the 80 by 18 metal culvert, $503. That's the only thing he did.
He's got this one. Oh, see, that's the only.
This bid is from Cowboy Street, 80 by 18 metal culvert, 500. Steam Jenny washer, $25. Scrap metal, 8 cents a pound. The 1999 Ford van, $100. From Rick Castleberry, the Steam Jenny washer, $25. 1999 Ford, $350. Rick Castleberry. From Gamble's Recycling, for the 80 by 18 metal culvert, 300. The two 6 by 36 metal culverts, $455 each. The 18 by 24 metal culvert, $100. 36 by 30, number 5 and 6, $100 each. Steam Jenny, $50. Scrap metal, 9 cents a pound. The Ford pickup truck, $405. And the Ford van, $410. It's from Gamble's Recycling. From Jeff English, he only bids one item, that's the 36 by 30, number 6 metal culvert, $102. And that is all the bids that we had. While y'all are,
On the scrap metal, is there more than just the? Oh, never mind, never mind.
we had down for that nuisance property cleanup update, and Kevin, you've already touched on the phone call you got and we got. They were invited to the court meeting today, but we continue trying to clean up some of these properties. And the one Commissioner Anderson's talking about, I'm for going ahead and moving on it.
Been
I
long
think
enough.
if we wait, I'm like Terry, we just, and I've got a couple others that if people say they're gonna send in a request, whether they will or not, I don't know, but one was a burned out piece of property out in your neighborhood, Bob, down near Jonathan Creek, past Marquitas, where you turn to go back in that subdivision, nice subdivision there. A house burned, and it's just been sitting there, so it may be, they're trying to wait to get settled up. I don't know, but we'll find out. Driveway culvert on English Road. Russell, what are we talking about here?
Did you ever,
I drove by there and looked at it, and, I mean, it's kind of a similar situation. You know, she states that what we did caused the washout, so it's up to the court to decide whether or not everybody wants to put the gravel back. I mean, they went out, they rip-wrapped it, it looks really good. the ditch area where they cleaned out looks very good.
Is
She
she
needs a
willing
new
to-
culvert.
Is she willing to do it? Or-
She's taken on the expense of getting engineering work and things like that, and we haven't discussed whether or not she'll put a culvert in. Her request is that we put gravel back in her driveway.
She told us that it'd be a month before she could get a culvert.
Now, Russell, I believe you told me that until a new culvert got put in there, we were just gonna be going back and back to replace. Have you replaced this gravel once before?
Yes. We just, I mean, what we replaced still looks good. She just wanted some extra over on the side where she says that, you know,
It washed
it's
her
washed
turnaround.
also. And we didn't put nothing there.
It's off the right of way. She said the area that's been washed is off the right of way, and that's why Russell wanted to bring it before the court, and it was a little area of turnaround. So do y'all want to say that once the culvert's replaced, it could be done? I mean, I understand what Russell's saying. You don't want to be going back and back, and this isn't even on the county's right of way. This is off. She's saying that it washed.
Is it causing her any difficulty getting in and out, Russell?
No, I mean,
Well,
I think if we do
I'd be in
fix it,
favor
I
of
think
waiting,
we
then.
we
There's no
need to
reason.
tell her that we're not gonna be responsible for it no more until there is a culvert put in.
It's deep enough to where she's having problems mowing. If in terms of the inconvenience factor, that's what she had told me. The washed out area is
Yeah, I
closed,
mean,
yeah. Yeah.
Whatever, you know, it's your district, and if we caused it, you know,
I just
I
think,
don't wanna
think,
be an undue burden on
Right,
somebody.
right.
But I wanna make sure they're gonna take the steps to, you know, to correct the problem, and Russell says to correct the problem, there's gonna have to be a new
new culvert.
sewer. Evidently, the culvert is eat out at the
It's rotted
bottom,
out.
Russ.
I mean, I think if the
It's bent.
gravel
Yes.
is replaced now, it should be said that, you know, that's probably the last time, because as in terms of what the county can do, we've done all we can do. You've fixed the ditch area, the turnaround would be straightened out from any damage that we might have caused, and then it would be up to her to replace the culvert, and anything that happens in the meantime would be her responsibility, I would think.
Anybody have a problem with that?
Nope.
Okay, Russ, just get with Russ, and,
Okay.
I mean, I don't wanna be a burden on
Right,
anybody, if
right.
we cause it, but they've gotta do some things too, as long as they understand that. Okay, any other old business?
Yes, Judge, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did the city of Benton ever tell us whether or not they were willing to do, the housing for the residential inspections, the
No,
office?
Marty, I tried to get a meeting with Marty and Lois. Marty is in Utah for a
Okay.
wedding. I think, what did I tell you, next week he'll be back? And Wendy and, yeah, one day next week, Wendy and I wanna meet with them
Okay,
to see if they're
They're
willing to do that.
okay. And
If
then-
not, then we have to, you know, we gotta
Exactly.
decide something.
Move forward. Chapel Lane, Russell and I went out and looked at that, and the residents out there are all in favor of the widening project. They're requesting that we have a different right-of-way on either side of the road. Mr. Davis says that when the road was first built, he took on more of the road on his side of his property line. The road takes up more of his property. So he will give some of it for the expansion, but basically the residents on the other side of the road are gonna give up a little more. So I called Jeff and asked if we could have a different right-of-way on either side of the road, and he said he felt that some roads in the county did have that, but I wanted to check with you all and see how you wanted us to proceed. Basically what's gonna happen on the right side of the road when you go down Chapel Lane is the residents, because there's curves in the road, are gonna be giving up different portions of their property for paving. So is there some sort of a system where we ensure them that we're on, if we ask for an extra 15 foot or 20 foot of right-of-way, is there any sort of a commitment that we make to them about what our intent to pave is? Everybody's very skeptical. Well, if I give you this much, what are you actually gonna take of it? So do we have any sort of a process where we kind of give them
What
an
is our
intent to pave?
normal driving surface, Russell?
New roads, we try to, you know, build at least close to 20 foot. I mean, 18, there's a lot of 18 foot ones.
And I think this one will end up being 18. We requested 20, but after looking at it, I think we decided we'd have to scale it down because the folks on the left-hand side of the road aren't willing to give as much. So Russell felt like we could probably make it with 18. But
Now, will that
some of that,
still give us room to ditch and maintain? That's the key.
Right.
I mean, shouldering
Right.
and ditching. But whatever you and Russell feel like is, and the people are willing to give.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to get this plat changed.
Right.
To reflect
Right.
whatever they're willing to do.
that's what I was thinking. So we just basically need to go out, get them to commit to the 18-foot driving surface, and then from there, figure out what each landowner is gonna have to.
What is your
Give-
driving service on there now?
Is it
Commissioner?
14?
14?
I'm wanting to take it up to
They
18.
need to survey, want you to get the, it'll have to be surveyed if you're gonna change that plat. Have to reflect each landowner, it'll have to be surveyed out.
I'm gonna say if you just took the 40-foot right-of-way and built most of the road, like on the right side going in, you'd still be within that 40 foot.
And I think they might be willing to do that, don't you? I mean, from their conversation, if they knew, they kept saying, well, can you guarantee us what you're gonna pave? I think if we had some sort of a, like I said, an agreement, basically, that we intend to pave X amount of space in that right of way, I think that they would all agree on it. They were just a little skeptical of just turning it over and not knowing in writing what our intentions were. So is that something we can do? Just give them a standard agreement of our intent to pave?
Well, I think so, but I think she said we'd have to change the plat, is that correct? You know, make the necessary changes, but
Okay.
18-foot driving surface, 18 to 20 foot is what
That's
normally
pretty
we
standard.
require.
Okay.
But to be safe, two cars to meet.
And I'm sure it'd be cheaper if we could build most of it on, the right-hand side, because it wouldn't be as much fill or anything
Utilities are
else.
on the left side as well. The majority of them are.
How many landowners you talking about, Commissioner?
Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about 6 or 7.
On the left-hand side, it's the Davis family, there's
Mm-hmm.
3 of those. And then on the other side, there's 2 couples on one track, Canup's on one track, and the Rileys on the other.
And everybody's in favor of it. They're excited about it. They're just wanting to make sure they fully understand what they're being asked and what the agreement's going to be, so.
Okay. Well, if you make that proposal, see
Okay.
how they, and I think they'll probably say okay.
Okay.
We'll need to get with them to get the plat changed and to meet what we need.
Okay.
If you survey and get that plat changed, that surveyor can apply to that plat exactly where the pavement's going. If you want him to, he can put an 18-foot road right up through whichever portion of that you want it to be. It'll be measured out exactly and they can look at it.
Okay.
All right, any other old business? Yes, sir.
One of the projects we work on in our office is we are trying to clarify, funny talking about right away, for property line information for utilities so they can keep track of this. We were looking at one of the roads we recently brought into the county road system, James Martin and John Marshall, and looking at how the right-of-ways run on those roads. The plat that was submitted, or the survey, I should say, not necessarily the plat that was submitted with that, really doesn't give us a good information of where that road runs and what the right-of-way would be. In addition to that, we took in about 150 feet too much road, more than what they requested. So there's a couple things we probably need to get clarified. I'm not sure how you guys want to go forward with that.
Now, this is, out in Graftonville?
Yeah, I can show you. This is, we had accepted a 40-foot right-of-way on this road. If you look at what they submitted, it's a varying right-of-way. So in this situation, we really don't know, are we talking about 20 foot off the center line of what they drew in? Is it, like, for example, in this area right here, we're about a 66-foot right-of-way, which was what was given over by the surveys. So we really don't know where that right-of-way should go. If we accept the 40 feet as we originally accepted it, then that leaves, in some of those areas, 10, 12 feet on either side of the right-of-way and the property owner. There's just some ambiguity in there. Like I said, in addition to the fact that we took in a little bit more road than what they had originally requested.
Have you looked at that plat?
It's the same one we had.
It's the same one?
Yeah.
He
No,
did record it. It's recorded.
I was going to say, there was another issue where the plat that they had submitted was never recorded, so we never had any verbiage either saying that we give these roads over in the right-of-ways to the public good or quitclaim deeds. We didn't have either one of those. So they've since recorded that plat, as I understand, so that should take care of that. But the two issues we run into is, for one, we took in more road than what they requested, and the other one is we need some clarification on what that right-of-way actually is.
Now, let me make sure I understand. Are you saying what we took in that they didn't really ask is right here?
That's exactly right, that section
So
right
it
there.
should end
At the
here,
intersection.
at the intersection. And tell me again, exactly, do we need more right-of-way, or do we
No.
accept what we've got?
This works fine, this satisfies this. The other situation we run into is they've given away, like, for example, this is a 33-foot right-of-way from the center line here. This is 30 foot. So we had accepted a 40-foot right-of-way, but they've already given over quite a bit more than the required 40 feet. So we can say, okay, yeah, we'll just stay with the 40 feet. If that's the case, then we need to have an accurate description of where this road actually lies. Or we can say, if we have an accurate description of all of these properties surrounding that road, then we can say that we just accept all of the right-of-way around the road up to the property line. The reason this is important is exactly what you guys were just talking about, as far as that culvert, putting in rocks, if there's any damage, we need to know exactly where our right-of-way is and what our responsibilities are. Otherwise, there's a lot of ambiguity here. If it's not clarified at some point in time in the future, the court's gonna have to clarify it if there is an issue to determine it. And then that's gonna be at the expense of the court to determine that, so it's a
So
situation
we,
where we're getting
we
cleared up.
pretty much accepted these roads as is, right?
Condition-wise, as I understand it, yes.
Now, am I seeing this correct here? You're saying this right away here actually is that where, I mean,
This is the road pavement right here.
right, I understand
This is
that.
the road, this is the right-of-way
Right.
between the property lines. So this is what they've given over to the public good.
Okay.
But this is about 60 feet here, it's 66 feet here, 57 something, and then it goes, I think, to 40 feet down here. So we have a varying right-of-way here as far as what they've given over, but what we took in that resolution was only 40 feet. So if we want to take in 40 feet from the center line of the road, then we need to have an accurate description of where that road lies, which meets and bounds description. Or that we can just say, don't worry about where the road lies, we'll take in everything that you've given over. And then we need a description of what that is.
Wouldn't it be best just to do a standard, though? That way, if you get in a situation where somebody's got, I mean, exactly like the situation we were dealing with today, if you've got 60-foot right-of-way, you're gonna go quite a bit onto their property line.
Well, it's already been given over in this case.
Right, but I mean, but you're saying that you accept that, right? I mean, you're saying that
That's what
if you
they've,
keep
that's
it-
what they've given over with this
Right.
plat, is
Right.
the varying right-of-way. Now, we can go in and say, we're only gonna accept 40 feet from the center line of the
Right.
road, or 20 feet from the center line of the road for a total of
Right.
40 feet. Well, if that's the case, then we need to know where exactly that road lies, so we can take in, we know exactly what we're taking in,
Right.
and leave the rest of it, if you so wish to do that. Or you can go back and say, everything that you've given over in the plat to the public good, we'll accept that as right-of-way. So it's a varying right-of-way, but there's a lot of varying right-of-ways in the
That's what I'm
county.
saying. I mean, 60-foot right-of-way, that's significant if you're talking about being that far onto someone's.
Well, years
But it-
ago, we required a
We used to
60-foot
have a
right-of-way
few, we
because
still
that's
got
what the
some.
state required. And we just patterned there, and then we went down to 50, and I think now it's 40. But are you suggesting or saying we need to get a surveyor out there to redo this?
Yeah, James Noth is the one that submitted that survey for the intent of taking into the county road system. So we either need one of two things. Like I said, we can either accept everything that they've given over in their plat, and it wouldn't be taking anybody additional property because they've already
Right.
assigned it.
It's
That's
just a responsibility.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just the responsibility of maintaining the right-of-way. So we can either accept that, and if that's the case, then we need to have an accurate description of those properties and where they lie, so that we'll know exactly where that right-of-way is. Or if we want to stay with the 40-foot that the county, the fiscal court took in, then we need to know exactly where that road is. Either way, we're going to need to have somebody go out and a surveyor establish either those property lines or the road.
Doesn't he just need to go out there and establish the center line of the road and we'll take a 40-foot right away?
I mean,
We could
yeah,
do
if that's
that.
the way we're gonna, he's
Like I
saying,
said, the only downside of that is that then you leave, 12, 13, 14 feet that's just no man's land, which is not our concern, but it's already been given over as a varying right-of-way to the public good. It's just a question of whether we want to take that whole
Yeah, we
right-of-way
wouldn't
in.
take that in. That would just be on their plat that shows that it could be used in
But that
some
could be
public way.
confusing. I mean, if we set a 40-foot right-of-way, tell the landowner that's all we want, then does that other feet go back to the landowners yet?
Still given over in
Not if it's been dedicated, it's dedicated to the public, but not taken into the county road system.
Right.
Well, do we want to muddy the water and have another survey done, or do you want to accept what you have, which is, as Andy says, a varying right-of-way?
Is either of the two options more or less difficult for you all?
It's going to be a survey either way.
Could be a survey either
Right.
way.
Either way, if he goes out to survey the road, he'll have to physically go out and survey that road. If he does the properties, he could probably do that completely through software, because there are surveys of those properties, deed description of the properties. However, they were all done at different times. The problem you run into with that is that your surveys generally recommend, or they'll generally reference a magnetic north, and that changes from day to day. 2 months later, that exact same line will have a totally different reading because it's referencing magnetic north. But generally, a surveyor can go back in through the software, look at that stuff, make everything line up, and draw one survey that references them all together. So one of two things probably needs to happen: either have the property resurveyed or replatted, and we accept the full right-of-way as it is submitted, or go back and he's going to have to actually physically survey the road. And then also we need to keep in mind that we need to look at that additional, it's like 150 feet that was taken in that was too much. So that probably needs to be amended as well.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Judge, could I muddy up the water for you?
No.
Please do, Lloyd. I mean,
I'm really good at it. But as a property owner, we have a little 15-foot section of ground that's located between me and 3 other property owners that got there to only nobody knows. It does create a problem when you have these little bitty unhooked up or nobody's.
Undesignated.
Yeah, it really does cause a problem, especially when you go to the bank and you're gonna borrow money and then that crops up and, it really does create a problem for property.
I could see that because we're dealing with something similar
I
right
can
now.
tell you.
Based on that, then I'd make a motion to accept it as it is and then just have the survey define that, create a new
The
plat,
property.
I guess, yeah.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, no. Now, do we need to authorize Andy to contact the surveyor to do whatever he needs?
I think so.
I'll get in touch with Note. And
Okay.
they're the ones that originally do that survey.
Okay. Very good. All right.
Hey, Jeff, in addition to that, we do need some kind of addendum or resolution or something to change the footage that we accepted as well.
Because it's written as 40 foot, right?
No, the total length of the road.
Oh, you mean on the
Total
end
length of the
it?
road. And they could probably be handled at the same time, I guess, potentially. It's just, okay. So we'll do.
I was thinking we accepted
Just
it
the
as
plat
40
will be
foot.
correct.
Okay.
Accepted all
Yeah.
of it.
When did we take that in?
As far as the distance,
Then they make the specs, doesn't it?
it makes sense. We just need descriptions for our
Yeah, I
property.
remember we took it away from the other one.
So can we take that up at the next meeting?
Take it up with
Try to have that?
It doesn't follow.
Okay, all right.
From
Some got one. That's if they turn that in.
Andy, we have a petition for Quail Hills Road, Sparrow Lane, and Pheasant Lane to be set for a public hearing to take these properties into the county road system. Again, we have some right-of-ways that are only 30 foot. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I talked to Jeff a little bit about that this morning, and he said that's up to the discretion of the court if they want to accept a right-of-way that's outside of the recommended minimum. I guess the only thing that would come in is whether Russell would ever consider that we would need more than that 30 feet. We took the information in our office and just looked at what the scenario would look like if we did add an additional 5 feet on either side of the road, if we did say we wanted to stick with a 40-foot right-of-way rather than the 30-foot that's platted. And without really going out and doing a detailed look, just roughly what we can look at, it looks like it wouldn't encroach on anybody's property. There was one retaining wall, and
Yeah, there's a
even then,
retaining wall and some other things that, I
But
mean,
that-
just
it wouldn't
driving
even-
through, it looked to me like it would.
but we could, I mean, if we could just accept it as 30 feet. The other issue we would want to make sure that we look at is there's a turnaround as requested, as required in the resolution that falls on TVA's property. So that would be something we would need to make sure that we don't accept that as part of the road system. But if that's the case, then
But
we
you
don't
can
have a
accept it,
turnaround.
because the turnaround exists. I'm not saying take the turnaround exists and is available.
Right, exactly.
But it wouldn't be part of.
Part of the county road maintenance system.
Do you wanna deal with TVA if we do it?
I'm saying, this way you don't have to.
Oh,
That's
I'd
the reason
rather
I said
not.
that. That's what the reason I said that.
all right, we will set this, will we have time between now and the next meeting to set this for a public hearing? To get it advertised?
Well, it depends on when their deadline is. I think it'll probably be Thursday instead of Friday because of the fourth being on,
Friday.
I think I can.
Do you wanna set this as a public hearing for the immediately following the next meeting of the fiscal court? And we will appoint road viewers, what's the young man's name?
Casey Counts.
Casey Counts, and our 3 regular road viewers, just add Casey to it, Bob Gifford. Of course, I think Josh would just soon step down from that duty, but just for this one, let's leave you guys in there, and Russell. And Casey, since he works for the GIS office, we're gonna have him start working with you guys to help. And we will take care of that and have the public hearing at the next meeting of the fiscal court. You guys pick a time, you can go out and review that. Bank quotes, we have we advertised yet or getting ready to?
No, that's what I was gonna request your all's approval on the documents that we would submit out for a quote.
All right, have y'all all looked at the documents? And you wanna take that up on the 15th, the 1st of August?
Whatever you all would prefer. In the last documents, when we did this before in 2010, Tim put it out on the 1st, and then 2 weeks of the next court meeting, he was able to open bid.
Okay, so you're suggesting we open bids the 15th? All right, any problem with anybody with that?
Nope.
Except bank quotes on the 15th, and you'll be responsible for getting all this in the paper and to the banks, all right? On our bridge quotes, did y'all get a chance to,
Yes, they both appeared, meet specs, they're both engineered drawings. So it's a matter of whether you want a timber bridge or a concrete bridge.
well, the apparent low bidder at 169 was American Timber. The bid from Smith Construction was 187.08. What's your pleasure?
Josh's preference.
Whatever.
I don't know which one's the best. Jason, does it say in there how long that their lifespan of them? Does it indicate that in any way? I didn't look for that. I asked Russell about durability.
he said that none of our timber bridges have ever been downgraded, but we've had to replace some of the concrete ones.
Is there a reason the state doesn't use them? That was the reason I started looking into it. I wasn't sure why the state doesn't use timber and most of the counties have gone to concrete. I just wasn't sure what the reason was. That's why I kind of looked into it, just trying to
Several of
figure
your
out.
counties use timber, a lot of them.
The last one, they built, got it over right there, the state built.
I mean, they just don't put them on state roads. That's, yeah, I didn't know, and that's what I'm asking. I'm not a bridge engineer. I just was looking at the difference in them. What's everybody's
I mean, the
preference?
timber bridges seem to hold up.
If that's everybody's preference, I'd make a motion to accept the low bid on Timber Bridge.
We have a motion to accept the low bid of $169,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Now, let's go over these. Do I need to have motions one at a time on these, or?
Either way, you can do them one at a time or go through and give the lowest bid or the highest bid and accept them all. It doesn't matter.
Okay, it looks like the high bid on the 80 by 18 metal culvert and the Ford pickup truck and the steam Jenny washer was Randy Wood. $1,100 for the culvert, $56 for the Jenny. The 1990 Ford pickup, $436. From Benny Adair, the two 6 by 36 metal culverts, $1,257 each. The 18 by 24 metal, $157, and the two 36 by 30s, $257. That's by Benny Adair. High bid on the Ford van and the scrap metal by the pound at 9 cents was Gamble Recycling. Do I hear a motion that we accept the high bids on our surplus property?
Accept the high bid, Judge.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Do we have any bills to approve today? Okay, you had an opportunity to review the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the
Motion
bills?
to pay the bills, Judge.
Motion and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. 4th of July is coming up, celebration in Calvert City. The parade will be at 7, right? 7 o'clock. The staging area this year will be at Pathway Baptist Church and not down on Railroad Avenue. Okay. So, then they'll have fireworks after that, Lloyd, and, okay. 3 watermelon. All right. Okay.
We talked about it yesterday. I just didn't know if we needed to do it.
Well, yeah, we talked about this, and,
I didn't know if we needed to do anything, or if it's handled, or if she's taken care of, or.
well, I think we need to decide. Looking at what I saw from the Labor Academy, it could go either way.
Okay.
And she would prefer to be a salaried employee, which
Right.
we've been paying her a salary, although it's broken down. I don't have a problem with it, if y'all,
There'd be no change.
no.
Yeah,
That's not a problem for me.
me either.
I mean, she's been a salary employee for 23 years, Judge.
Yeah,
But I don't think we can wait till she gets hurt and then change her mind.
I just
I'd
need a
leave it like
motion.
it is.
Make a motion that, What do you want that to reflect, that she be officially a salaried employee?
Right.
Okay,
At the current salary.
at the current salary.
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no.
That's that the sheriff,
Motion carries.
the sheriff.
Any other business come before the court?
Judge,
Monthly review of the
just wanted to make the court aware, because David did call you last week about it, just to let you know. We've applied for COPS grant again for 2 additional school resource officers.
Wonderful.
And
Yeah, I
hope-
think I signed off
Yeah,
on
you
that.
did,
Yeah.
and just wanted to make the court aware of that, and hopefully we'll get chosen again and get
When
some
we
more
know,
help.
Kev, October?
Probably so.
Probably in October, November.
3.
One other thing, I have changed the language in the
That's my
nuisance
point.
ordinance to reflect the posted notice, and the first
Exactly.
reading will be 15.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
All right.
Be safe on the 4th.
Any other business?
Motion adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Second.
Second.